Hi, I am Allie Camilletti, and you are listening to Snack Leadership. I will be talking about everything leadership, broken down into bite-sized pieces. You will hear what different leadership skills look like in organizations and how they can rise teams up or take them down. I help leaders build resilience and improve performance by bringing awareness to opportunity behaviors in my business. Spark your mindset. I provide leadership and sales coaching, as well as team building and guest speaking. My hope is for you to feel inspiration and to create a spark in your mindset. Hi everyone. Today we are talking about Zen leadership. Zen leadership encompasses humility, self-awareness, and empathy. At this point, hopefully, you've already listened to Jeff's podcast where I interviewed him on his view of Zen leadership. And his top 3 looked like solid hiring, great onboarding, and then holding people accountability. And he felt like that made everything flow. And what a great guy. Enjoyed him so much. So today I'm going to give a different perspective, because there's a lot of different concepts out there when it comes to leadership that people talk about. So I'm going to share with you this article from Forbes. And Forbes talks about how to master the art of Zen leadership. And what they start off with is talking about how it might sound cliche, but they really believe it's the key to success in this article. They say too often CEOs and other leaders try to project power outwards, forcing change and imposing their will on those they lead. We see this. I see this in young leadership. I, too, have been guilty of this as a young leader. Absolutely. I was pushing my power at the young age of 26 when I was managing in restaurants because I didn't know any different. And that's what I thought you did. Well, here I am, 25 years later, to say it's the opposite. It's the total opposite. I wish somebody would have shared that with me. Maybe they tried to, but I was too bullheaded. That could have probably been the case. So they talk about in this article about how you can see examples of like forceful, stubborn leadership all over the news these days with startup CEOs, corporate leaders, acting rashly with wide-reaching negative impacts. The successful leaders, however, are likely the ones you don't hear about. They're the ones who can focus their attention inwards and find a sense of calm and peace that draws others to them. Absolutely. And so in my younger years, when I didn't know about leadership, I don't even know if there was a course in college about leadership, really, to be honest. If so, I think I would have been drawn to it. And that's why I love what I do so much, is because I get the opportunity to support people with something that I really never got to experience. And so that insecurity and, I was super green. I went from Little Bend, Oregon to big San Francisco. And I was managing in a restaurant that was high-end in Palo Alto, and it was very trendy. And I had no idea what I was doing. And the servers, they were professionals, because back in the 90s, that's what it was, right? They were professional servers. Maybe they were pursuing other areas when it came to like acting or other things, but they were great at what they did. And if I could have told my younger self what I know now, it would have been exactly what this article says. They start with the first thing is be humble. No one likes dealing with egomaniacs. There are a few things as off-putting as people who view themselves as being better than others or above the rules. I don't feel like being an egomaniac was ever the route I took, because if anything, I was insecure for so many years. And I like to hide in the background. I wanted to do all the things, but not be out in the light. And that really carried on for a very long time. So humility has always been something that I've been okay with in a sense. If anything, it's been how do I share with people my knowledge and my success now and still look humble, because I don't want it to come off as me being pitchy. But I also love to share successes that I get to be a part of in the leadership work I do and watching companies and working with them. So that's really where I kind of struggle with what's the fine line with that. The next they talk about is being self-aware. Yeah, super important. They say it's the most important aspect of Zen leadership, self-awareness. When people fail to recognize and be open about the things that cause stress, anxiety, and negativity in their lives, problems arise. Absolutely. The majority of conflicts inside of organizations arise from a lack of self-awareness. Leaders have to learn to accept the possibility that they're just plain wrong sometimes. This is a journey and something that requires a conscious effort each and every day. The lessons that teach it are subtle and easily missed, but extremely powerful. It's not an easy thing to learn, really, but it's so important. It's the precursor to self-improvement and should be something that every leader, regardless of age or experience, should strive to achieve. This is where I start with leadership coaching. I start with something called positive intelligence, and we look at the saboteurs. So I'm going to share with you an example of what that might look like. I had somebody that I was working with that one of their top saboteurs was pleaser, which can be very common in hospitality that I work in. And what ended up happening is we had a conversation and he was able to get vulnerable with me and say, there's times that I get angry and frustrated. And I was like, oh, share with me. What's that look like? What's that feel like? Because I am beyond curious, because everybody's different. Part of what I love to do so much is just really get curious with people and understand where they're coming from. So he said, I'm starting to notice, I think it's because of my pleaser that I end up getting angry. He said, I'll be trying to leave the office for my weekend and I feel inundated with so much work and I get angry. And he said, it's my own fault because I take on more than I should, or I don't delegate to other people that should be really the ones carrying out a lot of the work. And instead, I don't want to upset them and I just want to please and be the great leader that is that servant leader, right? Servant leadership doesn't mean that you do all the work. And so he said, so I get angry and frustrated. And I was like, okay, so great self-awareness. Awesome. Now let's talk about what's going to happen the next time you notice this. Sitting at your desk, trying to get out on your Friday, and you're angry because you have too many things that you still need to do. What's the first thing you do to shift that anger? It's breathe. Everybody has their own tools. I use a brainwave app that has like water sounds, but underneath it, it's like ba-pump, ba-pump, ba-pump. And I usually use the meditation setting. There's all kinds of settings. And that reduces, for me, it's anxiety. Other people, it's anger. Whatever it is. I might take a lavender pill. So I reset. And then we came up with a mantra from him. And it was delegate to elevate. Because we talked about when you're not delegating, you're robbing people of their journey. How do they get to grow if they're just doing the same things and you're doing all the other things? It doesn't give them that opportunity to grow. And then you get to elevate by being that leader that is learning how to have really good boundaries, support others, and grow others. That's what a leader is. And then, as I like to say, go eat the frog, go delegate. I have somebody else that I work with, and we always tend to have our coaching sessions on her, quote, Friday. And she would run into the same thing. She'd come into the session and she'd be like, oh, I'm just thinking about all the things I need to get done. I'm like, okay, let's talk about what you need to get done. And she'd make the list. And I'm like, okay, so when you leave from me, I know you have another 2 hours before you leave the office. I want you to go delegate everything we talked about that you can. And so now when we meet, I'm like, what's your list look like? She's like, I delegated it yesterday. I don't have anything. I'm like, yes. I mean, how important is it for you to spend those last couple hours before you leave here Friday supporting your team, checking in, so that while you're gone, you feel like they're set up to win. And then you never know what fire is going to come up, especially in hospitality. Self-awareness, very important. The third they say, which is my favorite, be empathetic, right? They talk about the golden rule. If you've heard me talk, you know I'm all about the platinum rule. We're going to treat others how they want to be treated. And you might say, well, how do you know somebody else wants empathy? Yeah, I've never really encountered someone that's like, stop being empathetic to me. I can't stand it. No. When you have the ability to hold space for somebody else and listen to them, it's like a warm hug. It's not many people that don't like empathy. Unless you struggle with it and you're kind of hobbling along in it and not, doing it the right way. So being empathetic. This article says there's a deficit in modern society and its impact is far reaching. So I do feel like we have a little bit of an epidemic of narcissism in society. I see a lot of it and I've been doing research on it and I can kind of peg it anymore. And with narcissism, there's very low empathy. So I think that's what they're referencing. They say to embrace empathy in thought, word, and deed. Doesn't mean that you have to be a bleeding heart in business. Oh gosh, no, please. That's not going to get you where you want to go. It does mean that you never display the sociopathic behaviors that are both damaging and off-putting. Lack of empathy is the underlying driver of greed, dishonesty, and aggression. I will say my younger years, not the best at empathy, right? I worked like a dog. It was just part of what I did. I probably worked 50 to 60 hours a week in restaurants my younger years, right? I was young. I could put in the hours. I had the energy. Not anymore. But one of the things that I think of is somebody that had come to me and they're like, Allie, I really want Thanksgiving off. I'm like, what? Thanksgiving off? Are you kidding me? No, we work doubles. I'll give you some pumpkin pie. That was kind of how I operated a little bit. I could be a little bulldog. My younger self, I wasn't extremely empathetic. Something that you can learn, though. So empathy is central to building relationships. Yes, healthy ones. With team members, clients, and partners. Absolutely. And I say, just get curious. If somebody maybe is acting a little off, get curious. Go to that place of empathy. Ooh, I wonder what they're going through today. They might be having a really bad day. Self-awareness, humility, and empathy. Those are the things that are in short supply. It is tragic. Leadership is not something that is projected outward. Rather, it starts internally and draws people close. So according to Forbes, Zen leadership is just another term for authentic leadership. CEOs who value self-awareness and act with humility and empathy will still make mistakes. But when those mistakes occur, their teams will pull together and move forward towards success. So I leave with you this quote by the Dalai Lama. We can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves. Thank you for tuning in to Snack Leadership. I hope you felt inspiration, motivation, and felt your mindset spark. Snack Leadership is recorded and produced by myself, Ali Camilletti, and music by Shireen Amini.